Hey, everybody. Welcome back to the Symbio Cannabis podcast, where we help you launch, scale, and exit your CBD or cannabis brand. I'm your host, Matt Seibert,
And I'm Aaron Ospish.
and we're here today to talk about a topic that we saw in an article recently. Is direct-to-consumer marketing dead? And we don't think so. We think it's evolving.
Right.
And
Actually,
so
this was a really surprising headline for me. Like when I first saw this, I'm like, is the direct to consumer parties over? And I'm like, but here's the problem. I think like half of people in business, if not a lot more than that, still don't even understand what direct to consumer is. Or I'm sure after a little bit of explanation they might, but D2C, DTC, and D2C still seem like a foreign concept to a lot of people that are not in Silicon Valley, Austin, or New York City.
yeah, I agree, and I think that like what they were talking about in the article, what's changing is like maybe 5 or 6, 7 years ago, brands could come on, raise a ton of money, and just run at a loss and try to think that their lifetime value of their customer is going to make up for that eventually. But now that model doesn't seem to be working anymore because ad costs are higher, influencer costs are every cost is higher now than it was 5 to 7 years ago. And so, like, what I got from that article was that you need to have in-house manufacturing as much as possible, really high margins, and the ability to have in-house customer service and sales, like pretty much a vertical operation if possible.
Totally. Yeah, and just so for those of you nobody's referencing, Hal Koss posted an article on Built-in, which the topic of the article was the DDC party's over, what happens next, and kind of talking about, is the DDC party over and what makes it over? And Matt, I think you're right. I think like, there was a period of time between, I don't know, 2012 and now, or 2014 and now, where essentially if you could take any commodity, whether be anything. I'm just going to grab a couple things I have on my desk. This is actually a direct-to-consumer product, a candle or a box of matches or whatever it is, an allergy pill and whatever, and turn it into wrap it in beautiful packaging with a beautiful brand with some good messaging and a great experience. And that was enough. That plus advertising dollar and good creative led to, a fairly successful company, or could be a fairly successful company. And a lot of the mission that a lot of these companies had, though, these brands had, is they had this grow at all costs mentality, where it doesn't matter what's happening in business, doesn't matter if we're losing money, doesn't matter if we need to fix the product, we just need to grow at all costs. And they would both raise money, or sell it, raise money, and then they would invest heavily in advertising or in influencer marketing or other ventures, even when wasn't necessarily profitable, just to grow at all costs. And I think what they realized, is that building a brand and building a company is not a short-term game; it's a long-term game. And that when you can grow quickly and you can scale your company into a brand fairly quickly, but you might only be playing that short-term game of a couple of years, because at that point you eventually you sell your product to your market, and maybe they like it, maybe they don't like it, but you're so focused on growth that you lose the focus on your customers, and what they need and what they want, and thus you lose your focus on retention. And if you're not focused on retention, then you can sell everything. So you can sell everybody one thing once, but if they're not liking it, or if you weren't profitable once you've done it, you can put yourself in a really unfortunate situation. And so it's really interesting. I think what this article is getting at, is that the old strategy of D2C, grow at all costs, is dead. I do think that is partially dead. I don't think that you can just grow your business at all costs anymore. You have to come to a model of like profit first.
Yeah, exactly. Especially if you're not even breaking even on the first sale and you're losing money, and it's just so risky that way, I think. And to run a business.
It's this play like software companies, like Facebook and Instagram and whatever, all these different software and SaaS companies. They run at a loss for such a long time, and then they have this freemium model, and then they make their money back through advertising, or they make their money back through free upgrades, or in-app subscriptions or premium plans or whatever it might be.
Yeah.
And there's definitely a spot for that in e-commerce, but I don't think it's I don't think it plays by the same rules. I don't think e-commerce plays by. I don't think commerce, frankly, plays by the same rules as that. And so I think it's I don't think it's a direct crossover, which I think a lot of people thought it might be.
Gotcha. Yeah, and I have seen that strategy work for a couple CBD brands where they were operating at a loss and they got bought
Mm.
out and they actually won that way. But it's kind of
It's
risky.
confusing. Yeah.
Yeah.
And I don't really understand that model too well. But from what I do understand about it, like it's almost kind of like a Ponzi scheme. So someone has to be responsible for profit at some point. You know what I mean? So even if you sold the company for 90 million or 300 million or whatever, like if it's still operating at a loss, that person who bought it has to figure out how to make it operate
Turn the
at
ship
a
around.
right. And
Yeah.
it's just yeah. And it's one thing when you're buying big brands with tons of brand appeal over large periods of times, and you know that they're going to work in the long term. It's just a matter of But when you're starting with brand new brands like that haven't been around that long,
So
they
risky.
can be kind right. They can be kind of like a flash in the pan.
Yeah, and that's one thing I learned from the article was the brand House, or however Haus. I think it's House.
House or house. Yep.
House, yeah. Well, what's good about them and what I learned from them is they really put a lot into their packaging, and when they launched the brand, they had hundreds, if not thousands, of influencers posting their product for free. They didn't even reach out to the influencers because the
Oh,
packaging was just so cool, and it became like the hip thing to put in the background of your photo or
totally, man.
something, you know. And so
Absolutely.
and also they have their own manufacturing, so their margins are a lot higher that way, so that they're not operating at a loss out of the gate. They're making profit,
Yeah.
and so that's the biggest thing I learned is really, and we both have been saying this for a long time, you got to have a strong brand with really strong packaging. And then if you add on your own manufacturing to that and fulfillment as well as customer service and sales, you have a winner then, because you can
Yeah.
control that ecosystem and and not have to rely on anybody, which it's I've seen when you rely on other people, a lot of times you get burned. So
Absolutely,
so
man. No, absolutely. I feel you. I mean, we've both been there, both on product companies and just partnerships in general. Like, I think that I agree with what you're saying. And this is where I think where it like this is where Paul's quote on focus on your audience first really comes to play, because like the way to build a brand is to really think how you can serve that person extremely well. And if you can identify who that person is, that is the best way you're going to be able to find out how to serve them.
yeah.
If you're just trying to create a product that's going to serve some people that you don't really have a clear idea who they are, it's not going to work so well. But it's like what's dying, or what where there's going to be a lot of opportunity, I think, is if people really get down to the nitty gritty and stop trying to create brands for money, and stop looking at their brand as a mercenary coming in to make a bunch of money and get out, but to start thinking of them as a missionary. I think I got this from Jeff Bezos. He talks about missionary brands versus mercenary brands.
I like
Mercenary
that.
brands that get created just to get in there, get out, make some money. It works sometimes, but it's a lot of pain and a lot of drama. Where missionary brands come in there understanding what they're trying to do, what mission are they trying to serve, what value are they trying to create, and they trust that money is a natural output of doing that. And so I think that brands like Haas or House and some of these other direct to consumer brands that are winning, I think they have a ridiculous focus on their customers, and they are first and foremost always thinking about their customers every day. I think they're
Yeah.
thinking, what can they do to make that to serve their customers better? What do their customers want? If we're talking about CBD, how's the taste? What would they want to see from the packaging? What kind of communication would they want to see from us? And identifying your personas or your audience and your archetypes and in creating a muse for who that audience is. It's a good way to start
Mm.
asking these questions. I had one of the brands I ran, I forget what we called it. Let's call it muse. We would say, what would the muse say? What would our muse say? And we
Yeah.
had this essentially character where essentially we'd ask ourselves what our character would respond in any situation, and whatever that character responds is probably what we should be doing, because that's what our consumers are wanting. And so I think like I don't think direct to consumer is dead. I think it's just getting started. I think the first wave of grow at all costs is ending, and I think the new wave of mindful business operations and profit first operations are coming. And I think the people who are going to win are going to be the ones that are just obsessively focused on their customers, have dear and deep relationships with them, and who are investing in more vertically integrated brands, people
Yeah.
vertically integrated manufacturing, people who are controlling, who have tight control on their manufacturing from the from seed to seal in the essential oils world, but from parts to completion in the manufacturing world, right? So it's like software and hardware, and when you think about Apple, right? So it's like the brands that are taking the time to really understand everything. We started working with a new client of ours, Jupiter, who they do. So when they were getting their extraction, they wanted to look exactly, okay, who's going to be our extractor? Okay, well, we want to make sure that it's only flowers only. We want to make sure
Yeah.
that it's squeezed mint rather than a mint
It
flavor. And
tastes so amazing. Oh
yeah,
my
it's good.
God. I
It's
hate
good.
flavored tinctures. Honestly, I've never liked one until Jupiter's. Like it tastes so good, man. I was blown away. And the box that it came in, it's just they paid attention to every detail. Here we go. So yeah,
Yeah. So
it's
this is
just
the box of Jupiter. So this is what comes in the mail. I already opened it, but so then you open it. Let's see. And you get this kind of like walkthrough of exactly what's going on, and then a barcode so I can scan and see my lab tests, and then a
yeah.
walkthrough with the brand booklet that explains all my FAQs, and then a really pleasant experience with the bottle. And what is this? Why do we show this? This is the experience I want
Yeah.
when I use my CBD.
They're
I don't
inside the
want
customer's head, and that's
exactly.
the point you're making. And you pulled it off amazingly with the brand Monk. And
Thanks, man.
and talking to you about it, like I could tell you were completely obsessed with the Monk customers and how can I please them. And that's why the brand did what, 22 million in sales in 3 years or whatever it was. And
Totally.
so like I think it takes a certain kind of person to be able to do that, like somebody like you that's super detailed, like you don't miss anything, man. Like, and it takes that kind of person to be able to get inside people's heads. And I think also like some psychological education helps too, I'm sure. But like
I think it's a mindset too. You know what I mean? I think it's like, I think when people are willing to get in the mindset of the customer and live there for a little bit, it's not easy, but I think if you're willing to do it, things start like coming clear. Like if you can switch from being the person who created the website to being the person using the website and like really approach it from that level of like,
yeah.
this is the first time I'm using it, you start seeing things.
But
And I
also it's about creating something that you love, like
yeah,
like not you or me or whoever. If you create a brand and a product that you love, like when I was in the music business, the most successful artists that I worked with were the ones that said I rap or I make my music for myself. I don't
yeah,
care if the audience likes it. If they do, great. If they don't, then whatever. Like the people that were rapping or making music to for the audience, it didn't work. Like it
yeah,
just, it's better if it comes from your heart and soul, like kind of like you were saying earlier, like a missionary brand. Like this is my mission.
absolutely.
And so like I always ask every client of ours, why are you doing this? Why are you in the CBD business? And because you're going to have the shittiest days sometimes and dealing with nightmares. And so that why reason of why did you create this brand is going to make you stick around through that. And I
I
think
think so too, man. I think so too. I think you're exactly right. And I think that it's the people that take the time to do that are the ones who really win. There's that, have you ever heard of the marketer's fallacy? It's like you're not your target market. That's the marketer's fallacy. It's the idea that when you're marketing, you got to remember you're not your target market, and so your decisions shouldn't rest on just who you are. I like I always had like a counter to that, which is you're not your target market unless you are. And
yeah.
sometimes you are your target market. Sometimes you're really integrated with your audience and your mission and the purpose of your brand. I think that the brands that are really integrated like that, I think Haas is an example of a brand like that. They do exceptionally well because they know what they want, and they know what they want. They listen to what other people want, and they create that.
Well,
And
yeah,
that,
and another good example of that is the brand that we met with recently called Equilibria, and
yeah, yeah,
they target women, I would say 45 and up with their CBD brand. And they have, when you purchase a product, you schedule an appointment with one of their dosage experts, and
huh.
they are doing really well. And they just have a great message, great targeted audience, and really cool looking products. And so they know their audience and they're giving the audience what they want, which is, it's amazing. We're in the industry, so we think everybody knows about CBD, but people are afraid to take it. So if you
Totally, man.
have a dosage expert that they can walk through everything with, and it makes them feel better about it, and then they keep reordering because they got that great service. And that's why that brand is, they're doing very well. I don't want to say what their sales are, but they're doing incredible.
Well,
And
I'm just sharing my screen on this is that brand that Matt's talking about. But like, what we're talking about customer obsession. What is this, right? Like, this is Ella's goals: arthritis relief, uninterrupted sleep, and anxiety relief. She's going to take 10 milligrams in the morning, 10 milligrams plus 10 milligrams soft gels together before bed, 5 milligrams. So it's like this level of intentionality to their customer, to this level of like, what are your goals and how can we help you achieve them? How can we be part of you hitting getting what you want out of life? What a powerful thing. And so I think that's I think that's the answer.
yeah,
It's easy to overcomplicate. Like, coming from people who do this shit a lot, like, it's easy to overcomplicate. If you can stay focused on just creating an exceptional experience for your clients, and providing them with, understanding what they want, understanding what their goals are, both for your clients and for your customers, depending on what brand you're running. And then just helping them get to those as quickly and as effectively as possible. I think that's all it takes to create a really exceptional brand these days. And I think the more, it's really as simple as, if you can switch your mindset from a mercenary to a missionary, I think you'll do a
I
lot.
love
You'll
that.
go a lot further.
That's a great point, man. Like, if this becomes your mission, instead of like, and I see, like, in our group, like, more than half of the people that launch CBD brands, well, I wouldn't say more than half, at least half are doing it just, let's get in and get out and make some quick bucks, and
Absolutely. At least half. At least
yeah.
half.
And so it's going to be tough that way. But the other half are the people that CBD has impacted their life and they're so passionate about it, or their family members have been impacted, but they don't have that marketing D2C
Yep.
background like you do or like I do. And so that's why we're doing these videos, to give this education and to let them know the importance of what we're talking about here. And
Absolutely.
if you can just, like you said, keep it simple. Like, we were just showing the Equilibria website, every picture that you scrolled through was a woman in her 50s. Like,
Totally.
that's their target. They're not deviating from that. They keep it simple. That's who they sell to,
Yeah.
and
I
they
think
do
that's it,
really
man.
well.
I
So
think that's it. And be on the lookout when you're looking at other brands, your favorite brands. Look at what they're doing. Are they focusing on you? Are they focusing on themselves? What are they doing? And so
so cool.
I'd say missionary, not mercenary. I would say be vertically integrated as you can. Like, if you can own your manufacturing cycle and your production cycle from day one, and just increase the scale of it. You don't have to order 5,000 units of your first product. Figure out how to order 500, and do it in a way that you can run it,
Yeah.
or you can at least own pieces of it. I think that those brands are going to do better. They're going to have better margins. They're going to have and then focus on profitability. There's what's that book? Uh, the What's that book that
Profit
you read?
First.
Profit First. What's the guy's name? I forget.
Michael Michalowicz.
There you go. He wrote a book called Profit First, and the whole concept is just like, it's not HR, it's not branding, it's not anything that really. Well, maybe it's branding, but it's not any of these nuanced pieces of business. And it's the first and most and only important thing in business is profit. And I think that D2C brands that are profitable, that own their own manufacturer, or they're vertically integrated, they own their own manufacturing loops, or at least they have a lot of control over them. And then they're missionaries, not mercenaries. They're really customer obsessed from day one. And then they don't leave day one. They stay customer obsessed the whole time that they're working on the brand.
Yeah.
And then I'd add a fourth one, which is just automation, learning to create systems in your business that allow you to do a lot more with a lot less.
And the best D2C brands that I've seen, they have
pillars.
in-house sales and customer service. You want to have that
Oh yeah,
in-house.
man. And fulfillment even. Like,
Yeah, fulfillment as
people
well.
People always want to outsource fulfillment, and I get it, but like, the stage between you or brand and the customer receiving the product, you're going to give to someone else. And I don't know, I get it. Like, I see it scale, and there might be places to do it, but I've always built my own fulfillment centers because I think it's really easy. Shopify makes it so easy. WooCommerce makes it so easy. You buy a printer, you get labels, you get some boxes. Like, it's not too complicated these days. And so I always build my own, and then as I scale, I either scale up my fulfillment center or I outsource it. But if I ever do outsource it, I'm anal as hell of just like exactly how it needs to be. But
it's so hard to control that aspect of it if you're not doing it in house. But
dude, it drives me crazy.
Yeah, and I think you made some great points, and people just listen to what Aaron has to say and what I got to say and just execute. And if you need help, you can hire us and contact us. We have consulting services and Facebook and Instagram ad services to help you out. And make sure you subscribe, because we do these pretty much every week. So if you subscribe, you'll get the notifications. And yeah, we'll see you guys next week, I'm sure.
Heck yeah. Talk to you
Cool.
guys soon. Subscribe, hit the bell. See you soon.
Cool. Oh, there goes my next meeting. Thanks, Aaron. See you next time, man.
See you, brother.